Hello, Hateless Gaming here, bringing you another Anomic agent guide. Today, or another burner guide. Today we have the Anomic agent Blood Raiders burner, or Cruor. It is the frigate version of a Belgorn, so it's quite a fun fight. It brings a various suite of E-War. It brings Webifiers, it brings a Scram, and it brings an energy neutralizer. If you're not familiar with energy neutralizers, they destroy your capacitor so you can't run things. The big important number that this NPC has is that it drains 18 gigajoules of cap per second. So you need to be able to handle at least 18 gigajoules of cap. Our fit here has plus 14, and I'll explain why that works in the near future. But basically what he does is he tries to hang out about 3 to 3.5 kilometers away from you. He shoots you with lasers. He scrams you so you cannot use a micro warp drive. He's incredibly fast. So that's just kind of what we're dealing with. It's really hard to get range control on him, so that we don't quite get range control. But he webs and caps you dry. So you either need to fit a fully passive fit, or you need to run a very strong capacitor. So the ship that we've selected to do this, based on the ship's weaknesses and strengths, what we used to use was a Wolf, but the Wolf took a really long time to do it, and we actually didn't run this for a long time. And then the Nergal came out, and Nergal has this really cool trait that it spools up. The longer you fire at something, the more damage it does. So our turret DPS is actually only 158 right now, but this will spool up to over 600 by the time we kill the NPC, which is crazy when you think about it. So it's really good at doing long-term damage. It also has a really strong natural resistance profile, which means that the EM and thermal resists start really high. So we have a 60-80% resist profile, which makes it incredibly tough. And then we run an EM Energized nanomembrane, which gives us 79 resistances to EM and 80 resistance to thermal, which is really strong against this burner. And then on top of that, it's got a really short cap regen stat. So when you put a battery on it, it gets a lot of capacitor. Like, it gets a lot of capacitor. So this gives us plus 14 gigajoules a second. You remember how I said that you needed 18 gigajoules of cap pressure available? Cap batteries have this really cool trait where they make E-War not as effective. So if you have a cap battery on your ship, whether it be a small one or a large one, or an extra large in the case of capitals, if you have a cap battery on your ship, you will not be as heavily impacted by energy neutralizers or by energy nostrils. So this is really useful information in PvP as well. So we use this, we can do a little bit of math, we can open up the calculator, and we can say that 18 is our pressure. We're going to take 0.75%, or 0.75 of a whole. So for every 4 that we would get, we only take 3, or however you want to figure that out. But what that means is we can take 18 and multiply it by 0.75, and we get 13.5. So under an 18 gigajoule cap strain with the 25% E-War resistances, we have 0.5 cap remaining, which means we are cap stable while fighting this NPC, and our reps are not going to get shut off. So we're cap stable. That's what this means. The remainder of the fit is that we have a capacitor control circuit, again, to help the capacitor. We have 2 Stasis Webifiers to help with range control and damage application. We have a Veles Entropic Disintegrator. It's really important to use Veles rather than Tier 2. We still use Tier 2 ammo with Occult ammo, which is a close range, heavy damage ammo. We still use Tier 2 ammo, but the Veles is important for fitting. You need the extra CPU and power grid that you get for using the Veles. So we make sure that we use the Veles. And then we have a Centii A-type small armor repper. I don't remember the exact incoming damage on this, but it's kind of close, and we really want to use the right one. And then an Entropic radiation heatsink, and a Centum A-type energized EM membrane or equivalent. And then a Vigor compact micro auxiliary power core. This comes in just under 400 million ISK. hit save as and put this in the corner for you guys so that you have the information. It'll also be linked in the description below. You should also want to carry drones. I recently lost a drone last time I did this mission, or a couple times I did this mission. It doesn't matter what drones you have. They do help, and it doesn't really fire at the drones. The skills for this fit are going to be, I can't remember if you need the assault frigate skill trained to 5. So I would recommend assault frigates to 4. 5 is nice. 4 is easy to train. You need it to 1. I suppose you can get away with assault frigates to 1 for this fit, because the precursor frigate bonus is required to fly the Nergal, is what gives you your armor bonus, and the other bonuses are just range and damage, as long as you have the range. So you probably want it at least 3 is what you need the assault frigates to. We'll go ahead and open up my character tree and kind of go down the list of skills that are advised and recommended. Again, the assault frigates. So wherever that is, assault frigates, I recommend at least to 3, probably 4. 5 is helpful. 5 is really helpful. It makes things go faster. In navigation, it does help a lot to have navigation trained to 5, as it gives you better tracking and better damage application, because you can kind of lower the transversal a little bit better. You'll see what happens as we fly, and I'll kind of explain what's happening there when we go through. You don't really need anything else for navigation, as this fit doesn't use a prop mod. And then in engineering, we are going to absolutely need capacitor systems operation and capacitor management trained to 5. This gives you the strongest possible cap. This should be trained to 5 for just about every ship in the game, because it does help every single ship in the game. So capacitor management is key. Again, this is a tight fit, so CPU management, advanced weapon upgrades, and weapon upgrades trained up to be able to make the fitting work would also be required, because you do need the CPU and capacitor. You would also need to have power grid management trained to 5, and I want to say that there's one more that is required. CPU management gives you the maximum CPU. That would need to be trained to 5. Now I want to say that this one helps the battery fitting. So capacitor systems management might be required. I can't remember. Nope, it's not. You don't need capacitor. The one that I just said. Capacitor emission systems isn't required. Those, capacitor management. There's another one, energy grid upgrades, it might be? Yeah, so energy grid upgrades reduces the CPU need of all the modules that require it, and this makes it easier to fit CPU with the medium sensor battery. That's really helpful. Nanite operation, you don't really need it, but thermodynamics is useful for overheating. We don't need to overheat in this, but having the ability to overheat can save you in certain situations. So you're going to want that trained to 3 to be able to overheat. Although the overheat in this mission is very friendly, and I'll explain why you need it in just a minute. We do need repair systems to 5, and then we have this is the first ship that I've done a video on in this series that has a passive energized membrane, and these passive energized membranes get a bonus from these armor compensation skills. In this case, we want EM armor compensation trained at least to 3. That'll help a lot. Training it to 4 makes it easier. You can make up for having it trained up by overheating, but that requires more management. I personally have it to 5, and it makes it really easy. That's not a problem, but I'll show you guys how to deal with this being a little bit lower. The lower EM resist from not having this is kind of a big deal. So I really recommend that you train it to 5, but 3 or 4 would be the requirement. You don't absolutely need it to 5. Mechanics is is structure, and hull upgrades is armor hit points. So we need hull upgrades trained at least to 4 to give you as much HP as possible. And this should be trained as well, because it's part of the Magic 14. You should have this trained to 5 anyways. We don't need shield skills here. We don't need targeting skills here. They're not really necessary. In gunnery, we are going to want all the gun support skills to at least 4. That will help out significantly. By gunnery support skills, I mean controlled burst. Your controlled burst would have to at least equal your rapid firing skill. It needs to be equal or greater. So if you have rapid fire to 5, you need controlled burst to 5 to be cap stable in this. Because the guns on this does use capacitor. You need to be able to manage the capacitor. You might be able to get away with it being one less, it'll require a little bit of managing on the shields, a little bit of overheating to make that work. And again, I'll show you how that works. I believe support skills include gunnery. We're going to want small disintegrator specialization trained to 1, which requires small precursor turrets trained to 5. This allows it to use occult. If you have it to 4, you may be able to get away with it using the close range standard ammo, but it might be difficult. So you could potentially get away with that. So rapid firing, sharpshooting, motion prediction. I'm trying to remember all the skills here. There's so many skills in this tree that have surgical strike, trajectory analysis are the other 2, I believe. I think that's all the support skills. We're not using missiles. If you're going to use drones, you want drones to 5 to be able to use all 5, and then support skills for the drones. You don't need drones in this, but they do help. Makes it a little bit faster. We do need propulsion jamming, as we have 2 webs. We need enough propulsion jamming to be able to use the tier 2 webifier, which I believe is level 4. So we would need propulsion jamming level 4. I believe propulsion jamming also makes it so it doesn't use as much capacitor. Propulsion jammers, 5% reduction in the warp scrambler, and stasis webifier capacitor need per skill level. So this will help your capacitor if you're missing that last 0.5. Getting this to 5 from 4 will help a bit with your capacitor. It's not a night and day difference, but that 5% does help. As the standard amount on a stasis webifier, it costs you 6 gigajoules, so probably not necessary to get to 5. 4 would be the requirement. We don't need scanning. Rigging, I'm going to check our ship here. We have armor rigging, which the drawback on this is power grid need. So you would need to train this to 4. I know that my alts have it to 4, and the power grid is literally 0, so you need everything else for power grid. If you have that to 5, you may be able to get away with advanced weapon upgrades to 4. If you have it to 4, you might need advanced weapon upgrades to 5 to fit the ship, as it's a very tight fit. I'm very fortunate that I have all the rigging skills, but this does work on my alts that don't have all the rigging skills trained to 5. They all have them to 4, aside from this character. This character is the only one that has armor rigging to 5. And that's really all there is for the skills. I guess we go into the demonstration now. This is one of the longer ones. So we're going to go ahead and close all this out. And we'll go ahead and hop on in. So for this fit, all you really need to do is turn on your tank. That's what you do. Before you even go in, you turn on your tank. Tank needs to be on. Absolutely needs to be on. There's no reason for it to be off. Everything else is passive. Your cap's stable. You turn on your tank while you're warping in. You lock up the burner. And you hit F1, 2, and 3. And so what's happening here is it's going to set orbit around me. And then myself doing... if you approach it, it lowers the effective transversal that you have with it. So it lowers this this transversal velocity a little bit when you approach it. And if you fly away from it, it kind of does the same thing. And then if you sit still, his transversal will go up, or you can fly. You can kind of manually fly. But he has range control. He's going to do what he wants. He has control of this situation because you go 141, and with the webifier on, he goes 160. So that means he has range control. So he gets to do whatever the hell he wants, and all I do is I just approach him. And then at any point, you can just deploy drones. He does not switch, or he does sometimes. It's very rare to see him switch to drones. So this is what you have to do. You sit here and wait for it to die. So as that's happening, if your armor starts to bleed, if you don't have EM compensation trained to 5, this will bleed a little bit more than it is for me. The fix to that is to overheat our small armor repper. You don't have to overheat a lot. I tend to start overheating if it gets down to like 50 or 70, 75. Most times I don't have to overheat it. But since this is a dead space module, it overheats really friendly-like. So you can run this hot for a good like 2 or 3 minutes before it actually burns out. Just make sure you keep an eye on this little red icon right here as it circles through. And once it gets to about 75%, I would probably stop overheating. With that being said, as we've been waiting, our damage has been spooling up with the Entropic Disintegrator. This is the cool thing about the Nergal. This is what makes them amazing. We've only been in here for about 2 minutes, and this thing's already doing 554 DPS. This is why we like the Nergal in fights that last longer than about a minute. It just does so well once it's spooled up. It can kill just about any other frigate in the game. It is easily the highest DPS frigate once fully spooled in the game. So we're up to 600 DPS, and this thing's just gonna die. But yeah, that's Anomic Agent Cruor, or Burner Cruor for you guys. If you guys like this video, or if you like this series, make sure to leave a comment, like it, subscribe, check out my stream on Twitch. I do stream on Twitch. I stream the burners, I stream my Zero to Hero series, I stream the other things that I'm working on at Twitch, at Twitch.com/hateless_gaming. Yeah, I think that's it. It's just Twitch, and the link will be down in the below for that. Make sure you guys fly fun, enjoy your time in EVE Online, and we'll see you guys in the next one.